Hello, ladies and gentle beans. Right. Okay, so we're going to continue on with this SimCity tutorial series. The prologue episode seemed to have done quite well. So we're going to start off now by building a city from scratch. I'm going to keep these videos relatively short. I'm not going to go into skip over sort of like 2 or 3 things at the same time. We'll keep to one thing per video. Obviously, then we can concentrate more on that one thing rather than try to cram everything into one video. So today we're going to focus on basically getting started, what you should do, how you should set your roads out, what roads you should be using, what roads you shouldn't really be using, what roads are used for what, and etc. etc. And basically just the getting started of what you should do when you first get into your city. Like this one here, as you can see, it's relatively flat. We've got a bit of a hill up in this corner over here, a bit of a mountain area, and we're on the coast as well. So now this is a new city in a new region. Well, part of the region anyway. As you can see, we're over in this corner here. These are the other cities over here. This is the city that you saw in the prologue video over there. So because these cities over here are not connected to these cities over here by road, we're not going to be able to buy power and everything off them. I thought we'd start off with basically just doing the basics and without actually have a self-sustaining city rather than relying on other cities. We'll get into that probably a bit later. Maybe we'll jump into this one over here in another video once we've gone through all the basics. So okay, so what you should do first of all is I've paused the game at the moment, and it's a good opportunity to pause the game while you're doing all this stuff. It stops anything happening that you don't want happening once you start building your roads and you start putting zones down. I had to mouse over that then to remember what they were called. Once you start putting zones down, if you don't want people to be moving in straight away because you're not quite finished, you're not quite sure if that's okay and that's how you want it, pause the game, get it all set out first, and then unpause it to let them move in. So let's get started then. First thing you want to be doing when you first jump into a new city is have a look at where the wind is going. So we'll turn the wind map on there. The wind is going to the east. So that's pretty good because it means all the crap and all the pollution ends up getting blocked by these big hills here. So hopefully it won't actually go too much over into the other city over there. Now what you have to bear in mind is that pollution does flow over into the city that's beside you, or if they're behind you, if the wind is going to the south, if there's another city say over in this area over here, the wind is going to blow over to them and it is going to end up causing them a lot of issues. So try and be courteous to the people who are around you. Build your stuff away from the areas that's going to affect them. Say like if we've got a city here in the south, if their city borderline was say here and the wind was going towards the south, build over here because then the wind bypasses the pollution bypasses them altogether. Right, so that's the first thing you want to check out. The second thing you want to check out is the resources. Obviously, when you start the map and when you go into it, you have a short description there of what resources are on what map, on what area you're gonna be taking. Now, I know from this that there is ore and oil on this map, and there is no coal. So we can prove that by going onto the coal map. There's no spots at all for coal. That's fine. Okay, and you can also, rather than clicking on these, you can use the hotkeys. 5 is for coal. The hotkeys are using the long number pad at the top of your keyboard rather than the number pad at the side. They don't actually work. They don't do anything. So hotkey for coal is number 5. Then you've got your hotkey for ore, which is number 6. And as we can see there, we've got quite a bit of ore in this area. So what we want to try and do is avoid building a road over the top of that. Quite a bit of ore over here, a bit of ore there, and a little bit in this corner over here. Now the darker patches are where it's most prominent, and then you get the least prominent areas by the side of that, which is the lighter orange, and then you've got sort of like I suppose it's another dark, it's a different shade of orange. It's more of a transparent dark orange that's there, and then you've got your basic grey at the side there. The darker the colour is, then the more prominent the resource is there. So I think by the looks of this, obviously when you're looking at the resources, it's a good idea to plan out what you're going to have your city for. So looking at this, with the amount of ore that I've got available to me here, then it is more than likely going to be a trade city, so I can profit on all of these deposits here. So the next thing we're going to look at is oil, which is your hotkey number 7, and we can see we've got a massive deposit of oil up there. So definitely this is going to be a trade city. Not so much anywhere else, but that is an absolute huge oil deposit. Sorry. So yeah, we're definitely going to focus on trade with this city. Bear in mind that trade does make you an absolute load of money, but it will cost you a lot of money, and you probably will get annoyed with the people with the mines closing down and everything like that due to them not having anywhere to ship their goods. So I'm going to have on this city a good amount of trade depots, but we'll get into all of that in another video. So, with all that said, we've seen where the wind direction is going, what sort of resources we've got available to us. So we shall close this oil map down, and we shall start placing the roads. So let's go through the different road types, shall we? Now we've got the low density dirt road. I don't like using these unless it's for a road that goes to, say, sewage plants, power plants, or something like that. A road that not many people would travel down. Don't use them for main roads and stuff like that. You're going to end up getting traffic issues right off the bat, and you're not going to end up having any higher density buildings or anything being built off the bat or anything like that. So I'd avoid using low density dirt roads unless it's to, say, utilities and stuff like that. A road that people would very rarely use. Now, low density street, this is the one that I would normally start off with for branching off the main avenue that I'm going to build on this particular city. It's cheap enough. I don't like going straight for the medium and the high density, mainly because the medium and high density streets do exactly what they say. Medium density street will produce medium density buildings. High density street will produce high density buildings. Now, this is also the case on the avenues as well. If you plop down a medium density avenue, it will produce medium density buildings. A high density avenue will place high density buildings. So if you're not looking to get that building density up straight away, don't plop any of your zones on the high density avenue, because as soon as they start getting happy enough, they'll start upgrading. If you want to have a lot of control over when your residents are going to upgrade their housing and stuff like that, don't put your housing on the adjacent to the avenues. Put them always on the streets that you want to have control over. Right, so we're going to start building our first road. Now, we're going to build the road more or less similar to what it was in the previous one, because I found that is the best way to avoid traffic issues. Now, a lot of people out there, the way that they've dealt with traffic issues is just by building a crap load of circles in every single corner and stuff like that to reduce the traffic flow so that they've got multiple ways to go. But we want to make this look like an actual living city. And how many cities do you see that have just got a shitload of circle roads in each corner? There's not many like that. So there's probably a few. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a straight road. We're going to come up a little bit out of here. Now, if you hold shift down at the time of you placing your roads, it will keep the roads in sort of like the angle that they're supposed to be at, so that they're straight. If you release shift, you can put them in any desired position that you want. Now, I have guidelines turned off, which are these things here. If I took it back on, you can see there's a line there that tells me where I can place the road for it to be straight. I prefer turning the guidelines off. It's basically personal preference. I find that you get more of a free movement with the guidelines turned off, but it's a personal preference, so do as you will. I prefer it with the guidelines turned off. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a road that's straight to about there, just to extend the off ramp a little bit, and then we're going to go for the arced road there and do a nice big arc around here. Same thing with these roads. If you hold the shift down, it'll keep it as a nice tight arc, and if you release the shift, it'll put it into a not so tight arc. So if, say, we've got the road there, if I press shift now, it's going to pull it in slightly just to keep it nice and straight rather than jagged. So we'll build this road and we'll come up to about here. We don't want to spend too much on it, so I'm thinking about 9,000 simoleons will do. So we'll get that to about 9,000. You really want to keep an eye on your money when you're building these kind of roads, because they are expensive and you don't want to be wasting all your money straight away on building roads. So that'll do, I think, even though it's only 8,000. We'll plop that down there. So that's we've got our main route off the highway. So we're now going to build our low density streets. As I said, build your low density streets first, and then you have more control over when your buildings upgrade. So we're going to come off this road here on a straight. We're going to come down this way, sort of, to about there. And then that will be our residential area that we will use for residents. And then we will also come off... Yeah, we'll come off this area, no, that's too close to the junction. We'll build a little bit extra going this way. And then we will add another road coming off here, which will be for our industry for the time being. Now I'm going to build a low density dirt road. As I said, don't use the dirt roads unless you're going to do it for utilities, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build an arced road again and just sort of like arc it round the corner here, and then that can be where the power plant and everything is going to go for the time being anyway. I mean, obviously you don't want the power plant slap bang in the middle unless I'm going to make all this industry, which I am more than likely to do, being as I've got a lot of the ore and stuff like that. As you can see, I haven't really drawn the road directly over the ore deposits, and I've nicely arced that around there, so I can nicely easily plot the ore mining facilities down there. I've gone a little bit over the dark area there, but don't worry about that too much. There's plenty there for me to work with, and I've got plenty here and more up here, so don't worry about that too much. So what we'll do now is, now we've got all this set up, we shall go into the first thing that you'd want to build. And as I've got it on pause, we are unable to build any of this because the first objective is to connect your road to the highway. So we'll just unpause it for a few seconds just so we get that and we get approved to build power plants and things. There we go, and then we'll pause it again. So now we can build power plants. Now, you could build a wind power plant if you like, but in the long run it's going to cost you a lot of money because you're going to have to keep upgrading it and keep upgrading it and keep upgrading it. It's nice to see what kind of wind speed you've got, and as you can see, we've not got a very high wind speed, so it's not going to produce us very much power. Coal power plant, yeah, fair enough. It produces a lot of pollution, but also gives you a lot of power. But being as we have no coal deposits on this particular city, it's going to cost a lot to run because we're going to have to keep importing coal. Oil power plant, on the other hand, we know that we've got an absolute ton of oil up in this area over here, so that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be building an oil power plant, and we shall stick it just on the end of that low density dirt street that we've built there. So we'll plop that down there. Water facilities. Now, that's one thing we didn't check in the beginning. It's not imperative to check water facilities. Most of the maps have plenty of water everywhere, so it's not imperative to check that. Now, water towers, even though they don't seem like buildings that would produce any pollution or anything like that, Sims don't get too happy when you place it near their houses. It doesn't affect them too much, but if you can, try and keep them away from the houses. So what we'll do is we'll put it around here somewhere. Now, as you can see, we don't have enough money after building that power plant to actually plop this down. So that's why I said be careful how you build your roads, because if you end up building too many roads, you're not going to have enough money to build anything else. So rather than building the water straight off the bat, we'll start zoning. And as we said, we're going to build the residential area over here for the time being. Now, your residential area can be as big as really as you want it to be from the get-go. The two that you've got to really think about, especially when you're getting started out, is the commercial zones and the industrial zones. Don't zone too many of them. Now, what I'd like to normally do is, if I'm going to zone industry, I'll plop down about 4 tiles worth. About 4 tiles worth, just because I know that depending on what sort of industry gets built there, one industry building, one factory can produce quite a lot of jobs. And if there's not enough jobs for you people that are actually moving in, then they are either going to leave, or if there's not enough workers for the actual factories that gets built, then the factories are going to disband and leave as well. So I just like to plop down about 4 at a time. I mean, you can plop down a couple more if you want to. If you want to have a couple of factories, if your residential area is a bit larger than what mine is here. But I just like to do 4 when I've got a residential area about that size. Just do 4. Now, your commercial zones are also going to provide places for people to work. So Obviously, same thing with the industrial zone. Try not to plot too many down at the same time. Now, I'm going to put these on this main avenue here. Now, these will, if they get happy enough, these will upgrade into higher density buildings. So that's why I'm not going to plot too many as in regards to the number of jobs as well. So we're just going to do about 3 of those. 3 of those seems fair enough. And that's about it. That's about it that I'd like to show you for this video, and then we will start it up and get the people moving in, and we will come back on another video and we'll go over sort of like how many jobs each factory seems to be providing, how many jobs that the commercial seems to be providing, in compared to how many sims that we've got. So we'll go over that in the next video. This is just sort of like my personal layouts that I like to use, what I like to use the roads for, the reasons why I use certain roads, and the justification for not using other roads instead of using like the dirt road straight off the bat. I know the dirt road is cheaper, but it also, I mean, it doesn't look very nice, and it actually, I don't think it affects the traffic in any way. I'm pretty sure the traffic runs exactly the same on the dirt roads as what it does on the low density avenues, but if you start with the low density avenues, you don't then have to go, when you want to start upgrading, you don't have to upgrade the dirt road to a low density, then the low density to a medium, and then the medium to the high. You could just go straight from the low density to the medium to the high, rather than having to worry about wasting money again on upgrading this 4 times, whereas this you'd only need to upgrade 3 times. Now, I will say a point as well, that you cannot upgrade these roads here, these low density roads, to avenues. So make sure where you want to put avenues down, that you put avenues down, because if you start getting a big city and you realize, oh crap, I need more avenues, you're going to have to start demolishing roads, which means buildings are going to get demolished, people are going to leave, you're going to start losing money. So that's why I say, when you start off, try and build as many avenues as you possibly can. So we'll leave it there for now, and we will come back to you. I will probably do another video Sunday to go up, probably Monday, and we will carry on from there, making a bit of money where I put down sort of like the sewage and stuff like that, and the actual number of jobs that are provided by a town hall. Now, a lot of people don't go over this, but the town hall does provide quite a few jobs. So we'll all go over that in the next video. So I will see you next time. Bye.